Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I got a review for you of this little guy. This little guy right here is the Vostok Watches Amphibia. First off, a size comparison. This is actually not a very large watch, which I appreciate very much. I mean, here it is against some of the standards on my channel here. This is an Omega Aquaterra Quartz. Sort of arrangement here. This is an Omega Planet Ocean, Seamaster Planet Ocean here. You can see it's substantially thinner, but they're both a little bit on the thicker side here. Here it is against the Breitling Aerospace, right here, and then here it is against the Citizen BM 8180. A bunch of really nice watches, and this is, well, here you go. Next thing, Vostok watches. Vostok is a Russian company. Vostok, of course, being Russian for East, but it's a Russian company, hence all the Russian on there. Made, they're not quite so clear about where it's made, but at the very least, it says Russian on the back of it. That says Amphibia. Over there, it says self-winding, water-resistant, etc. But anyways, so it's a Russian company. And so, anyways, let's go ahead and go into the good, the great, the bad, and the ugly of your Vostok Amphibia, which just won't sit flat on the table for me. Okay, so first off, on the good side, I do appreciate the fact that it is very true to its roots. You can see here that Amphibia here is on the dial in Russian, and same thing underneath it there with the water resistance and 31 joules. I mean, if it's going to be a Russian watch, they might as well sell it, and they sure indeed have here. So I appreciate that very much. Next thing, the bracelet on this guy has a bunch of adjustability. Not only can you take links in and out, but you get 4 different holes worth of quick adjust here. I just bought a freaking Breitling that has a bracelet that is less adjustable than this freaking Vostok here. So that's good. I appreciate it very much. Oh, I forgot to do measurements. Sorry. I want to jump back to there real quick. About 45 lug to lug. Cross about 40 excluding the crown, 45 including the crown, and this is about 30 dial wide, and then from crystal to bottom looks to be about 50 millimeters. So anyway, sorry about that. But actually, to me, that brings me to the next good thing, which is what reminded me, is that the size on this guy is actually pretty reasonable. This is not a very large watch. There are so many huge watches these days going on. I mean, oh my God, are there large watches out there? So this is a watch that I think will look good on pretty much anybody. It's in a nice intermediate size range, and that's something I appreciate very much. Next thing, this is a very legible watch. I mean, there were really only 2 hands, well, 3, I guess, on it. But the second hand is very subtle. You see the hour hand, which is clearly differentiated from the minute hand. The indices are very easy to see. I mean, this is a very, very legible little piece here, and so I appreciate that very much. It's also well loomed. If we take a look here, I'm going to charge the lume off camera with a very bright flashlight. If we take a look here, you can see that the hands, including the second hand, they're all loomed, and then you have 8 little lume pips there in between the main indices, which is, it's good, and the lume is actually worth a damn. What I mean by that is that even overnight, the lume is bright enough. I am a lume snob, and this is actually pretty okay. I can't argue with that, so that's very nice. Next thing, this is 200 meter water resistant, which means that you don't have to worry about water resistance. It is absolutely going to be fine for pretty much anything that you might do as a human, unless you are a crazy technical diver. But chances are, statistically speaking, you are not. So there you go. Next thing, this is using an all-metal construction. There may be plastic inside this thing. There may be plastic somewhere in this guy, but I haven't found it yet. Every part of this watch that is user-facing is metal, and actually it's metal that's done reasonably well. I mean, you can see here the bracelet has got a certain degree of polish to it, which is nice. The case itself has some polished areas, some brushed areas, etc. The back of it is nicely done. This feels like a solid tool. I mean, this is a durable little watch, at least so far as any mechanical watch is going to be durable, but that's kind of nice. I appreciate very much the fact that not only is this watch metal, but that it is consistently so, and that it's reasonably well done. And then finally, on the good side, this watch is cheap enough that the service costs are basically, well, about time to buy a new Vostok. You know, with many mechanicals, especially like on the higher end, servicing is a non-trivial affair. You know, from $200 or $300 for a lower end watch up to, you know, $700, $800. That's it's kind of nice here. You don't have to worry about that. So, to me, at least, that's what's good here, is that it's all metal construction. It's got very good water resistance. It's got solid lume that actually works. It's a very legible dial with a very adjustable bracelet, at least by cheap watch standards. And then the dial and such is still in Russian, and so that's great. To me, what is really great about this, though, obviously, is going to be the price. This is an inexpensive watch. I paid 85 bucks for this, buying from a trusted retailer, so to speak, on eBay. Kind of one of the Vostok people. And you know what? That's a fine price for a mechanical watch. You're not going to find many mechanical watches that are cheaper than that. And the ones that you do find that are cheaper than that are probably going to be pieces of crap. This may well qualify depending on your view of the world, but still, this is a very cheap mechanical watch, and so I got to give them credit for that. And that really takes some of the sting off some of the issues that I'm going to talk about as we go on ahead and move into the bad and the ugly, which, well, let's go ahead and do that. On the bad side, first off, this is a no-date watch. Whatever, that's a matter of preference. It's a diver. Some people believe divers shouldn't have dates anyways. They're crazy, but whatever. Next thing, the bezel on this guy. It is a dive watch. It has a dive bezel, but it is not only bi-directional, but it is just friction-based. That means that if you just kind of bump up against this, it will very easily change the position. And just wearing this around, I found this much more regularly than, frankly, any other diver in my inventory, so to speak, that I found the bezel moving around. Not a big fan of that, absolutely. But you know what? It's 85 bucks or whatever. Next thing, there is not a very strong distributorship for Vostok in the US here. You end up buying, I did like a legit search, like, okay, how do I best buy a Vostok watch? So I didn't want to cheap out here and get like a fake one, which I don't know how it'd be different, but whatever. And it turns out that random eBay stores are some of the best places to do it. There may be dealers in the States, but it's not like walking to your local jewelry store and get a Vostok. Which, okay, whatever. Next thing, the crown on this guy is hilariously awful. I really genuinely, every time I take this crown out, feel like I am going to break it. Because, I mean, seriously, not only is it rattling around on this dimension here, but it moves around back and forth in this comically bad sort of way. Like, I understand that it must be a functional thing, but oh my God, is this thing bad. Yeah, so that's really ugly, and that is the cheapest that this watch feels, is when the crown is out there. Next thing, this is a non-hacking watch. If I pull out the crown, this is right now at the time setting position. So if I twist this, but when I do this twisting, you can see the second hand is moving around in weird, unpredictable, unpleasant ways. And even in this position, it is constantly moving, which makes it very hard to set the seconds precisely. Not that it's going to keep those seconds precisely, but still. Not a big fan of non-hacking movements, period. Next thing, so you've got these loom pips, and I showed off the loom, but it turns out that only those 8 little dots around the outside there, again, for demonstration purposes, only these 8 dots are actually loomed. But you have these huge patches of white that could very easily be loomed. Those could be nice, thick loom paint, but they're not. Mind you, it is still legible without that, because even in the dark, even at 2 a.m., it's pretty easy to estimate, okay, well, it's halfway between this one and this one, it must be about midnight. But still, the missing loom pips do kind of suck. I wish they could do better than that. Next thing, the clasp on this guy is a little crappy to open, specifically when you've got this guy down, because there's not like on a lot of clasps. For instance, on this little, I've got an aftermarket clasp on this Breitling here. But on this guy, you've got this little area where you can kind of dig a fingernail into to pop it open there. And that makes it a little easier. On this guy, though, there is no such thing. So you either have, adamantium fingernails so you can get up into there and pop this loose, or I find myself having to undo this clasp from the sides there. But either way, this lends this watch, especially on the wrist, a bit of a Hotel California feeling. Like you can put it on, check it anytime you'd like, but you can never leave, that kind of thing. And so, unfortunately, once this is on your wrist, you're kind of in it for the long game, and that's really unfortunate. Then finally, on the bad side, this has a plastic crystal. I don't know exactly what plastic it is, but you can see here already, come on now, where is that scratch? Already on this guy, trying to get it with the light, right there. Right there were already scratches on this watch just from wearing it around. I probably have worn this guy out and about in the world for like a week max. And already I'm seeing scratches on there. Mind you, those can be polished out with something like Poly Watch or something. But I'm not a big fan of plastic crystals. At the price, I'm willing to kind of live with it, but that's not great. And so, to me, all of the bad here is that it's got a plastic crystal. The clasp really does suck to open if you pop this thing over here. It has the missing loom pips. It is non-hacking, and it is has just an awful crown feel. It's tough to buy. The bezel is just friction-based and bi-directional, which ain't great for a diver. It is a no-date watch. On the ugly side, okay, first off, this bracelet freaking loves arm hair. It eats arm hair all day freaking every day. It is really unpleasant. And more than any watch bracelet I have worn, this one just, you will just walk along. You're walking down the street, not doing a damn thing, and suddenly you feel an arm hair go. And that's just because this bracelet managed to trap one and managed to take it with it there. That's really unfortunate. I mean, mind you, it is a great way to control the arm hair population, but no, I really, really dislike that. As a hairy bastard, this is not a great thing. And then finally, on the ugly side, this is a Vostok watch, which means that accuracy is, to put it nicely, not guaranteed. When I first got this guy out of the box, it was actually running only 6 seconds a day fast. I took it off for a little while and then put it back on, and at that point it started running about 15 seconds a day fast. 6 isn't so bad. It's not really acceptable, but it's not so bad, but 15 seconds a day, no, I'm sorry. And this is just the case with any Vostok. I actually had a Vostok way in my past there, and it was running a minute a day fast, and that's just freaking ugly, because then you really just don't know what the time is. And so, to me, those are the ugly things, is that the accuracy on this guy is not impressive, and that on other Vostoks, and I think I got lucky here with unimpressive rather than just plain freaking bad, and then the bracelet just loves the arm hair. So, final conclusion on the Vostok here, there is absolutely a certain charm here. I mean, the watch is rough around the edges, this is for sure, but it's not in that kind of frustrating, like, you had one job sense. It is a watch that you're not paying a lot of money for, but it is functional, it's okay to wear. On days when I was wearing this watch, aside from the arm hair extraction issues, you know, it worked fine, and it's got a style to it. It's hard to describe it, but there is a certain mystique. There's a reason that in the Life Aquatic, Steve Zissou was wearing one of these guys, and it is the only cheap watch I'm aware of that Hodinkee will talk about. It's a watch blog, which is really pretentious, that they will talk about without holding their noses. So you got to give them credit for that. And you know what? Although I would probably ditch the bracelet, and I would never be 100% sure what time it actually was, this is a watch that I could see myself potentially wearing, especially in like a post-apocalyptic setting where all the quartz has been disabled. I don't freaking know. Look, this is a decent enough watch, and it is a great beta watch for a mechanical purist. If you will simply not abide quartz in your lifetime, you are like an anti-hippie and you just hate quartz crystals more than anything in the world, then by God, the Vostok is not a terrible choice as a beta. But the thing is, at the same time, it's not a great watch. I mean, it is non-hacking, which is never good. It's a plastic crystal. The construction is iffy, especially that the bracelet is just not great, and the accuracy is, well, not what you want out of something that's supposed to keep time. The biggest question I gotta ask with something like this is, why not just buy a quartz watch? Because for $85, although that's very reasonable for a mechanical watch, you are very firmly in the mid-range of quartz there. You can get very incredible pieces from Casio, Citizen, Seiko. From Citizen, for $85, you can get this guy, which has solar charging, so it'll run forever on or off the wrist. It's got day and date on there. It's very dirty at the moment, but nonetheless, it's got solid lume. This is a very, very nice watch that works just beautifully. It's all the timepiece you could ever need, and it's $85. So from Casio, you can get like the Wave Scepter. I've got a review of that guy up, which is a solar analog digital watch with atomic synchronization, alarms, chronograph, etc. And any quartz watch you buy is going to be an order of magnitude more accurate than this guy is. And then they'll have bracelets that are worth a damn because they're not putting all the... I mean, this serves as yet another reminder that for most people, if money and functionality is at all important to you, you probably want a quartz watch rather than a mechanical. And the thing is, at the end of the day, if you want to go mechanical and you want to go cheap, then the Vostok here, it's kind of doing its own thing. I mean, it's cheap, but it's good enough. It's awful, but it's kind of in a charming way, I guess. And although it's rough around the edges, I think it will put in the work. And so if you absolutely must find yourself a cheap mechanical watch, then this is an offbeat choice, 100%. It's a little bit weird, but it is absolutely an interesting option with its own very unique little kind of charm. So anyways, there you go. Hope this has been interesting, that I can't actually make a Vostok pun at the moment, that you enjoyed talking about this watch. There you go. And that you at least enjoyed yourself, because East, Vostok, Russian pun, that one worked for... Okay. Mostly, though, I hope that you have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of the day, however long this guy says that day is going to be. Bye now.